everybody. Thank you so much for listening in. Today, I will be talking with Keyona of Keyona Speaks, Coach Key, who is currently one of my clients, although will be ending soon, unfortunately, to not only get her testimonial, but also talk about what it's like to be a Black Muslim life coach. So if y'all don't already know, I also identify as a Black Muslim woman. I'm very proud to be both of those things, Black and Muslim, and they are not separate. And so it's very rare that we find other Black Muslim and women life coaches in the space. So I really wanted to talk to Keyona about that experience as well. But before we get into everything, I want to start with Keyona giving us an introduction of herself.
What it do, everyone? What these scenes? How you going? My name is Keyona, but I go by Coach Key, and I also am the creator of the brand Keyona Speaks, which is a healing platform where I share my life lessons, other people's life lessons, to inspire us to own our story and I inspire you to own your story. As Kenya mentioned, I also am a life coach helping women of color, women of faith, to push through their limited beliefs, feelings of guilt and shame, so they can dig deep within and find their power and to own their story. Oh, and also like Chick-fil-A French fries too.
Thank you for that. Now I may actually go get some Chick-fil-A French fries. I really like their tater tots for like breakfast in the morning. I don't know how long they.
Wow.
I love it so much. Okay, anyway, so let's get into our first question. Where were you before you started as a client in my life coaching program? What was going on in your life, and why did you decide to kind of seek out a life coach?
I was very unhappy with my job, and the discomfort and the frustration that I was feeling at work, it kept reminding me of I need to live with purpose. I need to know what it is I'm supposed to be doing in life. And so I created Keyona Speaks as a podcast to really stay afloat. Like I didn't know what my next action steps are going to be. So I just needed to kind of manage my emotional state. And so that was kind of like the work that I was doing by myself. Then I told myself, okay, it's 2021. You need to stop cheating yourself and really invest in getting the resources and the help that you need. And so I can't remember how I came across you, but I know that it was, I think, on Clubhouse. Like your picture stuck out to me and your bio stuck out to me. So after reading your bio, I went to your website, and just seeing your story and seeing how closely related our stories were, I felt like, okay, this is the person that I need to, get help from. This is the person that I need to invest in because I know that I can trust, the resources that she can give me because she's definitely been in my shoes. And so that's how we connected. Like I just was like over trying to do it by myself.
Yeah, so you talked about a couple of things that really resonated with me. We like the investment pieces. Like you said, I need to stop cheating myself. And I just made some content on my Instagram about like why people who say they want to invest in themselves, they don't actually end up doing it. But and you kind of past that point of like, well, you believe that you're tired of doing it alone and you found the person that you needed to help you. And that's the other piece I was going to bring up was is that the value of resonating with your coach or knowing who your coach is and having some kind of shared identity. Because like as a coach, as a Black Muslim coach, it was great for me to see. I love working with other Black Muslim women as well, because we operate on a different level. We can understand each other on that spiritual level as well. And I'm sure for you as a client, it was great to also have a coach that understood, who you are and kind of like the intricacies of that.
Yeah, for sure. Because I pretty much had my mind set up after I watched your video before our discovery call. Like I knew like, okay, she's not telling me how much this program costs, but I could just feel it in my spirit that however much it costs, Allah is going to make a way for me to be able to afford it because I need this experience. And so after we had our discovery call and you told me the pricing and we had our conversation about that, once we agreed to have the relationship and you prayed at the end of the session, that spoke volumes to me because I'm in a space in my life where I'm trying to consult with Allah before I make my own decisions. And so knowing that this is something I've been praying for, and then you're like, you know what, let's wrap up this call with a prayer. I was like, Allahu Akbar, like, yes, this is what I need. So that when you talk about resonating and then knowing the type of time or the type of vibe that I'm on as us being women of faith, that really like stuck out to me. And I appreciate that about you.
Right. And you kind of led into my next question, which was like, how were you able to kind of be like, not necessarily ignore the investment or the price, but rather say, I know that this is worth it. And I know that I'm going to pretty much do whatever it takes to pay for it. Not that you have to like, sell your leg or anything, but what you pretty much spoke on is like having that trust in Allah that if you were called to this, called to me as your coach, if you know that you need some kind of help, you're ready to move forward, like just trusting that you will have the resources, you will have the abundance that you need to be able to have this experience, to do this program, to pay another Black woman to help you on your own journey. um
And another thing about that is we get so focused on the dollar amount, and that really shows how finances have played a part in our life. So we feed ourselves, or a limited belief can be, I can't afford this resource. Like your heart is telling you that this is for you, but you allow your financial state or your negative beliefs about your financial state to be a barrier to you getting that support. And now looking back, like we're like two sessions away from ending the coaching program. I can say to this day that there's no dollar amount that can really equate to the amount of resources that you have provided, the ways that I have large and small have seen myself evolve. And so when I tell people about your program, I say, I don't even want to tell you the dollar amount, because honestly, once you get into it and you're doing the work, you realize like, man, this is what, like, you're investing in yourself. And so that's why I told myself for 2021, I'm not going to look at the dollar amount. I'm going to look at the value of what's being presented to me and let that speak to me and decide if I'm going to do it or if I'm not. And so that was definitely a reframe, and me pushing through a limited belief financially that I had about myself. And that's another thing that I left out, is that not only did I want to come to you to help me to quit my job, but with your experience of finances and being in debt, I knew that I could also get help with how I'm thinking about my own debt, my own finances. And so the fact that I jumped over that hurdle of, oh, I may not be able to afford her, and said, no, this is for me, I'm going to do it. My mind has completely changed when it comes to, how limited I am when it comes to my financial state.
And you made a really good point about abundance and investing in yourself, which is instead of like, let me look at the price first,
Mm-hmm.
it's rather, I know I really need this. I know this is going to help me or this person is going to help me. Then I'll look at the price. Then I'll figure out how to make it work. That's really true, abundance energy. Because you're talking about, I'm not looking at the prices in 2021. That's some rich energy, and you don't get there honestly, truly, until you've already invested in yourself. Like I used to, balk at, I'm gonna do something, even if it's like $20. If I didn't think that like I was worth it or I needed it, I'd be like, that's too much. That's too much money. Like that's not in
Yeah.
my budget. And when I started investing in myself, and then I got clear on what did I need from investments, from experiences, from people, the price didn't matter so much as can I get where I need to go. And then it was a question, okay, now I know the price. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna talk to the person, like I'm gonna get on a payment plan, whatever. So you really made a point around how to have this abundance energy from the beginning. Okay,
Yeah.
so like you said, we're two sessions away from ending. So far, how would you describe the coaching experience or the coaching relationship or the journey? Like for someone, especially who's never had a life coach, which is a majority of my clientele, how would you describe what's been going on for the past, I don't know, 2.5 months, 3 months?
My favorite aspect about having a coach, especially having a coach while being a coach, is it really, excuse me, it really shows how we have the tools within us. We just need someone to help us to pull it out. Like I create this analogy about a gold mine, how the process of being able to even get the gold. Sometimes it takes 10 to 20 years before that actual land is mineable. And it's like we have gold within us, but we don't even know that we have it within us until someone poses that question or has us do that work, or they're able to, we're able to bounce our thoughts and our feelings off of them. And then, they respond in a way that's like, oh, I always wanted to have this strength. Oh, I didn't think about this about myself. So you have helped me to pull out of myself what I always thought I didn't have, but I had all along. I mean, by myself, I let fear stagnate me. You told me to do two things, and now when I look back at it, are very simple, two simple things, but changed my life completely. Took 2 years to do. In one session, you had me do, and I was already ready to implement action. And so the feeling of being seen and heard and supported plays a pivotal role in the coaching relationship. And that's life changing in itself. And so that's what I love about having a coach is that you don't solve my problems. You help me to see that I had the solutions and the strategies all along, and you just support me to actually be confident in implementing them.
That was such a beautiful metaphor with the gold mining. And you really said, the things that I feel in my heart. And I also try to say with my clients or talking to prospective clients is just that you have always had the tools, but there was a lot of stuff, a lot of BS, limiting beliefs, internalized things, trauma that was keeping you from seeing those things within you. And so you just need a little bit of help to bring it out. Like, I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to solve your problem. I'm just going to empower you to figure it out, not figure it out on your own, but to figure out what is the solution that works for you to get you where you want to go, not what someone else wants you to do. And the words I use is like being able to reclaim your power. So like know your inner power, but we can use that in many different ways. And in your program, I think, you're helping people find their inner ability to heal themselves or their
Mhm.
inner ability to unpack their trauma and just like release it and let it go. So I guess I would say I wanted to ask, would you recommend coaching to particularly women of color, women of faith? And then let's end it up a little bit and tell us about your program, Miss Life Coach.
I definitely recommend having a coach for women of faith, women of color. I know what sparked me becoming a coach, and I will talk more about that when I talk about my program, is just looking at the women in my demographic and seeing how pain and trauma has truly impacted us, how it has really stagnated us because of our perception of how we should process through it. And so, for the one who doesn't feel like they're ready for a psychiatrist or a therapist, and they just need to start somewhere, have a life coach. Or for the person who has a therapist or a psychiatrist, I see coaching as being a complete support system. Just like how a woman who's preparing for labor, she may have her doula, she may have her, medical nurse, her doctor that's, going to perform the labor with her spouse, her family member. She has a complete support system, a part of this journey. I see myself as not being a one-stop shop, but being a puzzle piece to the whole team or the whole support team. And so I don't know where coaches may fit in a particular person's life, but I highly recommend us because we are a great source of being a sounding board. We are just like the therapist and the psychiatrist. The only thing that's different is the background. But one thing I like about coaches, I would say more, is that many of us are in the work that we are in because we have lived through that experience that we're trying to help someone else. And so not every psychiatrist and therapist can really say that I've been through that to support. So the empathy and the compassion comes from I've been in your shoes. Or I'm definitely going to, I've scraped my knees. And so I want to, use the resources and my experiences to make sure that as you're falling, you're cushioned. That's what I've been saying a lot on my platform. So yeah, hell yeah, I definitely recommend a life coach.
And you kind of just spoke to, especially like the scraping your knees. I scrape my knees, but you're gonna fall cushion. And I say this to you all the time. I want you to not have to go through the same, hard lessons sometimes, or really emotional lessons that I went through. Not because they weren't valuable, but rather it's like if I can help you kind of expedite this process, why not? And I think, like you said, I've done a good job of kind of cluing you into a lot of things.
Yes.
But the thing about like the empathy and the compassion is saying like I've done this, that's exactly like what I do as a priestess, which is essentially, or what I have been doing, which is essentially like I've lived this, I've kind of passed this part of my life. Now I want to help you, I want to work side to side on your journey, in these parts of your life that you may or may not go through, but like I have these life lessons, I have this inner wisdom now that I
Mhm.
can help you, I can impart that on you and be a guide, be a mentor, be a friend on this
Mhm.
journey, called life. So, okay, let's get into your life coaching program.
Yes, so I have created a program called Blossom into Your Healing Journey, and I define it as being like the step one of embarking upon your healing journey. So my program helps you to identify the root causes of pain. Knowing your source of pain, knowing where the limited beliefs, the voices of fear, just all of that, unpacking where all of that comes from. Because in order to know what action step to take or how you need to evolve and change in your life, you need to know what you're supposed to work on. And so what my program does is it really breaks down the identification aspect of healing. And as I mentioned, it helps you to see that you've had those tools of rectification within you all along. And another thing that's really important to me about my program is that we have allowed ourselves and we have allowed other people to project feelings of guilt and shame upon us. And we don't understand just how impactful our testimony is. So when we're able to own our story, or as a woman on Clubhouse said, Sister Marilyn said, we got to wear our pain and our hurt like a girdle. Like when you are able to own your story, no one can take it from you, and you are able to see the power and how you can then take and cushion someone else's fall. And so that's the empowerment part of my program as well, that I really am passionate about gifting to women, because we all have a story. And just like Kenya's narrative, her testimony, it was able to help me to see that I need to partner with her because she has cushioned literally my fall. So
Thank
yeah,
you. And
well,
how can we like learn more about the program or start like talking to you about joining it?
you can definitely learn a lot more about me as a person and like my program at my website, www.keyonaSpeaks, Keyona, and then speaks.com. Follow me definitely on Instagram at Keyona Speaks. Check out my YouTube channel at Keyona Speaks as well. You'll definitely get a plethora of information as far as like embarking on the healing journey and learning more about my program.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I'll make sure to put those links in any like description boxes and stuff like that. And then lastly, let's just talk a little bit more about, what is it like being a Muslim, like, let's just say a Black Muslim life coach? Like, I would say, what makes your coaching different, whether that's on the back end, like, the behind the scenes of the program or within the program. Do you work with women who are not Muslim? Yeah, and how do you bring in like those spiritual aspects? So like all of that. I know I asked like a couple of questions. I'll be sure to repeat if you need me to.
No, I got you. So, as we were talking offline, intersectionality is like something that's really important to me. And so, understanding that not only am I a woman, but I'm also, a Muslim Black woman, that plays a part into the work that I'm doing. So, I specifically identified two demographics of women. Women of color and women of faith. And the reason why I chose those demographics is one, when it comes to women of color, is because I've seen how within, our demographic, how we sweep our pain under the rug, and, representation matters. And so a Black woman is going to resonate with me because number one, I've been in her shoes and I'm surrounded by women that I love that, has the same mindset as she does. So together we can unpack and we can remove that dust from under that rug and work through that pain. And then just for me as a person being Muslim, I tend to look at life with a faith-based lens. So while I don't only work with women that are Muslim, I work with women of faith, because one thing I've learned is that as we go through the ups and downs of life, it's really important to use our faith and our understanding of our Creator as we look at our pain, as we look at our trauma. And so what has resonated with me in my own situations of trauma is, how did my faith shield me? Or how did my understanding of my Creator help to push me forward? Like there have been times where I could have given up on my life, but my faith has come in to really kind of be a buffer in ways that I just couldn't for myself. So to support my clients that are specifically women of faith, or even women who lack of faith, is just to provide that space for us to be able to, just come up with the positive mindset, the positive, reframing of how did that pain and how did that trauma really like benefit us? How is it a blessing, going deep beyond the surface level? And the best way that I can really encapsulate that is from a faith-based lens. So not on proselytize, but very universally, I put in that faith component. And just before I became a coach, doing that with family members, friends, and colleagues, I've seen how it really softened how the people I talk to, how it softened how they, related to their pain and how it really pulled that internal strength. So,
Yeah, and I think also as a Muslim woman, and so prior to being a coach, I worked in diversity, equity, and inclusion work with college students in college and universities. And a part of my master's degree program and some of the work that I did was around religion, faith, and spirituality, and how we use these. I think mostly just spirituality is how we use it to make meaning of the world, and we
mhm,
use religion to make meaning of our worlds and the things that happen to us in our life. And so a lot of the things that I talk about in my brand with my clients is out of this spirituality mindset. So I definitely I also work with women of color and women of faith, or I would say women of faith and spirituality. And these women are they resonate with me is because, like, exactly what you're saying, they're able to make meaning of the things in their lives. They're able to find fulfillment, find that meaning of things that that again, surface level, it was just it was so painful, or it was so hard to get through, like all these emotions, and like make sense of those emotions in a way that is um larger than them. We're all connected to a very larger force in being. And for some people, that force and that being is Allah. For some people, that's God, that's Jesus, that's Ibrahim, that's Buddha. And for some people, that's nobody, but it is creator, or Mother Earth, or whatever, Pachamama. And so whatever way you believe, I think we're all just trying to make meaning of this thing called life. And so those are the women that I really resonate with, that are seeking a deeper meaning, because those same women are also seeking their deeper purpose, their deeper soul's purpose on this earth. They're craving those things. I think the same thing with you. You were craving this in your job, and it just was not enough, despite
mhm,
as hard as you tried to kind of stay and make it work. And then with women of color, like for me, like I definitely resonate what you mean about the generational trauma. And I would add, for me, it was because I worked in diversity and equity and inclusion. I know all the systematic things, the BS that keeps women of color from being operating at their highest level of fulfillment and purpose. And so I want to kind of, for lack of better word, like part the Red Sea for them. I want to make it easier for them to achieve, their self actualization, to live in their purpose and in their soul work. And there are some people out there that are not going to help. They're not thinking about those things, and they're not going to help them do that. They're not thinking of it in that context. And I can see, like, hey, I know that you go through having to code switch at work, and colorism, and misogynoir and stuff like that. And
mhm,
let's leave that all on the table. Let's leave that at the door when we start a coaching session, so that you can really focus on yourself, your authentic self, not yourself within these operating within these contexts, because that is a surefire and easier way for us to, again, reclaim our inner power, find that inner gold within us, because the world does not want us to see our inner gold. They don't want us to see our brilliance and our shine. So let's work together one on one to find that within ourselves. So yeah, I resonate with everything that you're
spot
saying.
on.
Yeah. And I too, I don't just work with Muslim women, although I really, really enjoy working with Black Muslim women too. But I wanted people to know that, like, as Muslim life coaches, we're bringing in that kind of extra dimension to help people, with faith, without spirituality, or with it, again, make meaning of the things that are happening in our lives, and, the where we could go with that, like what we could
Yeah.
do with that trauma, with that past life. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I think this was an amazing conversation. Is there any kind of like last comments or things that you wanted to get out before we kind of wrap things up?
Well, I definitely want to thank you for, giving me the platform to answer your questions and to share more about, who I am as a coach in my program. I've just seen, just as the weeks have gone by, the importance of just being seen, being heard, feeling safe, and how that really is life changing. And as we talked, when we first started our relationship, that this life coaching work, it's work that I've aligned with my purpose as far as of act of worship. And because I have, align this passion with being in servitude to the Most High, it has really shown how authenticity and being transparent is just a part of the process. Because what led me to you is, what's leading me to other people. And so I can't tell people to do work if I'm not showing that I'm doing the work. And so my clients will hear from me as well about how I'm still dealing with certain things that, I did once work from, but, it's showing up differently in my life. So they'll definitely have, not only, their coach, but I'll also be their cheerleader. And it's just truly a beautiful journey to have, a coach. And it's even beautiful for me to be coaching while having a coach, because, this ecosystem of support, like it's deep. And so I just evaluate, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you so much. All of my clients, I'm just as blessed and honored to be able to be on this journey with you, and that you chose me, and that, same for me, like Allah chose me to help you, to be a vessel for whatever lessons or blessings, or relief or release or healing that was meant for you. I'm just truly, truly honored. Something I was going to say, and it just left me. Blah, blah, blah. No, it left me. Anyway, hopefully it will come back. I'll just ask you offline. But yeah, that is, the time that we have today. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for agreeing to be on this, to be with this time with me and answer my questions. And so everybody, you know how to find Keyona. You'll have the links if you resonate with her program. And then also, if you want to learn more about, like, what it means to be a Muslim life coach, what that looks like for you, feel free to DM or hit us up in
Mhm.
any way. So yeah, okay. Bye everybody. Thank you so much, Keyona.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.